Okay, so right at the very heart of this huge AI boom, there's a massive billion-dollar war brewing. And it's a fight that's pitting the biggest tech companies in the world against authors, artists, and journalists, all over the very idea of information itself.
And it all really boils down to this one deceptively simple question. The answer, though, it could literally determine the future of the entire AI industry. So yeah, let's dive into this.
All right, here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll break down that billion-dollar question. Then, we'll look at the fair use defense the AI companies are hiding behind. After that, a new smoking gun study that could change everything. We'll see the evidence for ourselves, and finally, we'll ask, what happens next?
So let's start right there with that fundamental disagreement. I mean, it is a clash of two totally different ideas about how these incredibly powerful AI models actually work.
This right here perfectly sums it up. On one side, you have the AI industry claiming their models are learning from all this data, kind of like a student reading books in a library. But on the other side, you have creators accusing them of simply storing that copyrighted material and just, spitting it back out on command.
And seriously, don't make any mistake about it. The stakes here are absolutely colossal. This is not just some nerdy tech debate. It's a legal fight that could see billions of dollars change hands and totally reshape the internet as we know it.
So, to defend themselves in court, AI companies have all rallied around one really powerful legal idea, one that's been a key part of copyright law for decades. And that idea is called fair use. Put simply, it's a legal rule that says you can use copyrighted stuff without paying for it, but only if it's for a transformative purpose, like research or writing a review. Now, this is where the legal battle really gets interesting. The AI industry is pointing to old cases, like the famous Google Books lawsuit, where scanning millions of books for a search engine was called transformative. They're arguing that training an AI is the same kind of research, that they aren't just making copies, they're transforming all that work into something totally new, a super knowledgeable AI. And that's their main shield in court. And if you want to know just how important this defense is, well, OpenAI CEO Sam Altman couldn't have been clearer. He basically said that if they can't train on copyrighted data, it's over. For these companies, this is a life or death situation. But what if that entire defense, their whole argument, is built on shaky ground? Well, a pretty damning new study from researchers at Stanford and Yale just dropped, and people are calling it a potential smoking gun in this copyright war. And the study's conclusion is nothing short of explosive. It presents really compelling evidence that these large language models, or LLMs, aren't just learning concepts. They are, in fact, storing and then reproducing copyrighted data, almost word for word. Okay, so let's look at the evidence. The researchers didn't just talk a big game. They put the biggest names in the AI world to the test. Yeah, they tested 4 of the biggest models out there, from Anthropic, Google, OpenAI, and xAI. And what they did was prompt them to reproduce parts of famous and, importantly, still copyrighted books. The results were, well, they were very revealing. And the numbers that came back are honestly just jaw-dropping. First up, Anthropic's Claude model. It was able to reproduce entire books nearly verbatim with a staggering 95.8% accuracy. Then they tried Google's Gemini, which reproduced Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone with over 76% accuracy when compared to the original book. And in another test, Claude came through again, reproducing George Orwell's classic 1984 with more than 94% accuracy. I mean, this isn't summarizing, it's straight-up replication. It is the kind of hard data that lawyers absolutely dream of. The fallout from this could be massive. As The Atlantic pointed out, this kind of evidence could represent a huge legal liability for these AI companies, potentially costing them billions and billions of dollars in copyright fines. Okay, now, the industry does have a pretty significant counter-argument here. They say these tests required jailbreaking the models. And what that means is the researchers had to use really clever, tricky prompts designed specifically to get around the AI's built-in safety features that are supposed to stop it from spitting out copyrighted text. So their argument, as OpenAI's own lawyers have put it, is that normal people do not use our products this way. Their defense really relies on the idea of intent and typical use. But this sets up a huge legal question. Does it matter how you get the copy, or does it only matter that the system is capable of making a near-perfect copy under any circumstances? So all of this leads us to the great unknown. What happens next? With these conflicting claims and this powerful new evidence, the future of AI and copyright is completely up in the air. It's pretty wild how quickly this whole conflict has blown up. Just back in 2023, both Google and OpenAI officially told the US Copyright Office that their models don't store copies of training data. Now, this new study seems to directly contradict those statements, setting the stage for a major showdown in court.
And we really can't forget the human side of all this. For countless writers, journalists, and artists, this isn't some abstract debate. This is about their work, their property, and their ability to actually make a living in a world that's being turned upside down by AI. And that brings us all the way back to that core analogy we started with. Has this idea that AI learns like a human been a helpful way to understand this new technology? Or has it been more of a deceptive, feel-good marketing line designed to help them avoid the tough questions? Ultimately, as the courts start to weigh all this new evidence against what the industry has been claiming for years, the question they'll be answering is a really profound one. It's not just about code or copyright law. It's about who gets to own, control, and profit from the future of information itself. A future that's going to be decided either by these huge court cases or maybe, just maybe, by a whole new wave of licensing deals between creators and big tech.